The following contest scheduled for one fall.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to One Fall Friday. This week we are going over the results of Hell in a Cell. It was an okay pay-per-view. It wasn't the best by far. There was a couple matches that weren't really disappointing. I expected more from them, that's all I'm going to say. But first match of the night was the tag team title match, the Usos versus the New Day, and just like they've done in the past, they stole the show. This was, in my opinion, the absolute best match of the night. Yes, the whole pay-per-view, it started with a Hell in a Cell match and it ended with a Hell in a Cell match. I think that was pretty good pacing. I think that was the right thing to do. And yeah, Usos, they threw everything at the New Day. New Day threw everything back at them. They even Xavier Woods at one point came out with a gong. He made a reference to Mortal Kombat. It has begun, and then he hit the gong. It was fucking hysterical. But yeah, it was back and forth. Usos ended up with the championship. They're now 5-time tag team champions. And the following SmackDown, we knew going in that it was going to be their last match, and he made a reference to a Us truce, did Xavier Woods, but it wasn't really a truce. It was just kind of like, hey, you know, we beat the hell out of each other and we respect you, and there's mutual respect now. And I don't know what that necessarily means for the Usos. If they're like if they're riding the fence, they're neutral. They're not exactly faces, but they're not exactly heels either. Because, I mean, ever since they had this new change in persona, ever since they turned and went heel, they've still had a following, a fan base. If anything, it revived their fan base and made them like that much more interested and involved in this tag team. And so, yeah, I really don't know what they expect me to think as a fan at this point, if I'm supposed to like them or hate them. But either way, you know, kudos to them for being 5-time tag team champions. Next match was Randy Orton versus Rusev. I mentioned this last week that I really didn't care that much about this match. I wasn't really that invested. I like Randy Orton and I like Rusev, but I just didn't care about these two going one-on-one. I was kind of hoping that Rusev would have won, but he didn't. He actually lost again to Randy Orton, and I'm starting to wonder if they even know what to do with Rusev anymore, because all he's been doing since he came to SmackDown is making these veterans look good, like John Cena and Randy Orton. That's really all he's done. And now Aiden English is hanging out with him, and it's like, well, I guess they don't know what else to do with Aiden English either. It's just kind of a shame, you know? It's like the two really good talents, two really good personalities, just kind of doing whatever they're told because creative doesn't know what else to do with them. It's a shame. Yeah, Rusev, I hope you get a break, man. Next up was the United States Championship match. At the very last minute, they decided to throw in Ty Dillinger into this match and make it a triple threat. So we had Baron Corbin and AJ Styles and Ty Dillinger. And I'm pretty sure the reason why they did this... Now, I predicted that Baron Corbin would win. At least, I think that's what I said. That's what I was thinking once I watched the match. But, yeah, I think they didn't want Baron Corbin to, I guess, hurt. Well, not really hurt, but I don't think that they wanted AJ Styles' image to be hurt. That's what I'm trying to say. You know, where he could win the match cleanly and it not be controversial or, you know, hurtful to AJ Styles. Because I still think, and it's funny too, because I listened to Jim Ross's podcast on Tuesday, and apparently I'm not the only one thinking that AJ was going to lose the title and then go up against Jinder Mahal and, you know, push Jinder and make him look good. Apparently a lot of people are saying that. And that's kind of funny. I mean, it just goes to show that, you know, us as fans, that, you know, we love the business and we look at things from a behind the scenes standpoint. It's like, okay, what are they wanting to do? You know, how are they wanting to book this? It's kind of cool, you know. I just like it. I enjoy it. And, you know, Jim doesn't really, he's like, you know, I don't know about all that, but it's seems to be a fairly popular opinion, and not that that would be a bad thing by any means. I think AJ versus Jinder would be great, especially if there's really trying to get Jinder over as a legitimate heel and a legitimate champion. I think AJ Styles would be the best way to do that. But yeah, AJ lost the championship. He didn't get pinned. It was Ty Dillinger that got pinned. And then AJ had his rematch the following Tuesday on SmackDown and lost. So Baron Corbin is your definitive champion. I think that, I said it last week, I think maybe they're going to keep the thing going with him and Ty Dillinger. I think maybe Ty will get a one-on-one shot with Baron Corbin at whatever next pay-per-view that SmackDown's going to do. Next, we had the Women's Championship match between Natalya and Charlotte. This was one of those matches that I was a little bit disappointed with. I think the other one was Rusev and Randy Orton, but again, my expectations were low in that match. I didn't really care. No. It's another one. That one I didn't really care about. There was another one that was disappointing to me, and I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so the story that they were telling in this match, Natalya was focused on a body part. It was Charlotte's knee. She sold it that something happened to her knee in the match, and she was selling, and so Natalya was focused on that. Made it look really, really good. The entire match was mainly dominated by Natalya. I think Charlotte didn't even get any high. She got like one small high spot, and it was a moonsault off the top rope onto the outside where Natalya was, and it looked like it wasn't really set up that well. I don't know if it was Charlotte's fault or Natalya's fault, positioning wise, but it didn't really look that. It looked like, she landed on her feet and just kind of like threw her arm out, so it looked like there was some kind of contact made with her. It just didn't look that good. And then after that, Natalya ended up hitting her with a chair, got DQ'd, so Charlotte won the match, but she didn't win the championship. I can't remember who I predicted to come out on top of that, but I understand why they did it. I think I think the reason why this match didn't really live up to my expectations is because they didn't want them to go all out. I think they want them to have another match probably at Survivor Series, like a bigger pay-per-view where it's going to be both shows, so it's going to draw larger numbers, a larger audience, and I think that's where they really want to have a good solid match between these two. Next up was the WWE Championship match, since Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jinder Mahal. I know, the main title match, not the pay-per-view. Who would have thought? But it makes sense. It was about what I expected. We still haven't seen the real Shinsuke. They're still trying to play him off as a gimmick, that he's the artist known as Shinsuke Nakamura, that he's a rock star. I don't know why they're doing this. I guess it's just to keep people interested, or to try to get people interested in him. Whereas they just let him be Shinsuke whenever he was in NXT, and he was excellent. He was fantastic. I just don't understand. I don't know if it's talent's fault or if it's creative's fault that when people move from NXT to the main roster, it's not always an easy transition. And I guess I would blame creative. Instead of letting them be who they were in NXT, they try to mold them and shape them into what they want them to be. And they don't do that with everybody. It's only particular people, like Shinsuke. Shinsuke's one of them. They're trying to give him a gimmick. Other than, he's toned down the action in the ring. He's not doing everything that he's capable of. And they're giving him these nicknames, these stupid-ass nicknames that he doesn't even need. The Ascension. They were an awesome tag team in NXT. They were dominant. They were cool. When they got to Raw, they were on Raw first. When they came to Raw, they got different outfits, a different Titantron, and fucking face paint and shoulder pads. Why? Why do you need that? Why try to fix something that isn't broken? Finn Balor, he got to come right over, had no problem. Bobby Roode came right over, had no problem, same gimmick. Why are you changing some people and leaving other people the same? It feels like they're intentionally trying to bury their popularity. Oh no, we don't want you to be popular. We want Roman Reigns to be popular. We want John Cena to be popular. Don't cheer these people. No, we got to change them and make them stupid so people won't like them. I don't get it. Anyway, Jinder retained. I figured he was going to retain because it's not Shinsuke's time. I think that maybe they're holding out for him and AJ Styles to have a match, and that's when we're going to see the real Shinsuke Nakamura. Whether, I don't know when that's going to happen, but they'd be stupid not to have it happen. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. I mean, yeah, they already had a match in Japan, but who cares? That was in Japan, and not everybody watches Japanese wrestling. You know, WWE, whether we like it or not, has the largest audience, and so they need to have another match. Okay, this was the other match that I was really, really disappointed in. Bobby Roode versus Dolph Ziggler. It was a slow pace. There wasn't really a whole lot of high spots. Bobby sold his ass off to Ziggler. I mean, Ziggler was in control for a lot of the match. Bobby only got like a few moves in, and I don't even think he hit his finisher for that match. And it ended up with, like, you know, reversal after reversal. They were trying to roll each other up. Ziggler went for the tights twice, and then on the last one, Bobby Roode went for the tights. He kind of dipped into his heel side and ended up with the victory that way, but immediately he got attacked by Dolph Ziggler. So again, I have to wonder, were they intentionally told to dial it back? Because this was right before the main event, and the main event was Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. So I guess they didn't, I mean, because these two had the potential to have an incredible match, potentially match of the year, if they were just, you know, given the time and the opportunity to get in as much as they could, you know, in a larger time. You know, they didn't even, I don't think the match was even that long. So I think they intentionally did that because they didn't want people to be ramped up and then crash from excitement from this match and then not be excited for the main event. But I don't think that would have been the case, because the main event was really, really good. I mean, fuck. Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. We're just going to go ahead and segue into that. Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. Hell in a Cell match. It was Falls Count Anywhere for some weird reason. I guess that was so they would have the excuse to go outside and have the finish that they did. I'll get to that in a minute. But, you know, Kevin Owens, he's not shy about taking risks and selling. Every kind of hardcore style match that he's been in, he's done something that was worth saying holy shit over. And this match was no exception. They set up a table on the outside of the ring inside the cell, and he tried to do a cannonball into Shane McMahon. Well, Shane moved, and so he just went right through the table and hit the floor. I think he might have hit the cage too, but it just looked sick. But he was okay after that, but man, I mean, it looked really, really good. You know, Shane got his stuff in. He got the coast to coast with the trash can. It's his staple. And after that, they made their way outside the ring. Now, on Jim's podcast, the guy that he was talking to from ProWrestling.net or something like PW Insider, I can't remember what. Anyway, he mentioned that he was like, if you want to have a Hell in a Cell match with Falls Count Anywhere, don't lock the door, because that's kind of awkward and weird. Because, and it was, you know, it's like, if you're going to have Falls Count Anywhere, why would you lock the door? Why would you shut the door? That just doesn't make any sense. So Shane had to go find bolt cutters so he could cut the lock, and he was having a hard time with it, bless his heart. He just couldn't cut it. And finally he did, and then they made their way outside. They ended up both climbing the top of the cell, had a little skirmish. They started to climb down, and then Kevin took a bump from the side of the cell. He fell into a table, and then Shane McMahon took the biggest bump by jumping from the top of the cell. Well, he didn't really jump. I mean, it'd be stupid for him to jump. He just kind of like, he was up on the edge, and then he just kind of dead weighted and elbow drop onto Kevin Owens on the table. Well, it wasn't onto Kevin Owens on the table. Big surprise, Sami Zayn showed up and pulled Kevin Owens out of the way. So not only did we get a good main event, but we also saw a turn from Sami Zayn, somebody who has all the potential in the world, all the talent in the world, but has been kind of overlooked and underutilized lately since he's been on SmackDown. Even when he was on Raw, I think he might have had like 1 or 2 Intercontinental title matches and, you know, put in a fatal 4-way for a #1 contendership for the Universal title. Still was, you know, he's been underused since he's been to, from NXT to the main roster. But then on SmackDown, when he was out in the ring with Kevin and he was explaining why he did what he did, I didn't really get a sinister heel bad guy vibe from Sami Zayn. It seemed like he was mostly just matter-of-factly like, well, here's why I did it, I've been trying to please the people, and I'm not trying to please the people anymore. I need to, do this, and yada, yada, yada. So I'm kind of wondering what they're doing with this. I didn't really get that sensation, the feeling that I'm not supposed to like Sami now. He wasn't anything like, people cheered for him when he came out. Not everybody did, but he's still got a following. And yes, people cheer for Kevin Owens when he comes out because he's got a following, but he still puts himself off as, you're not supposed to like me. I didn't really get that at all from Sami, and so I just wonder if this is just some way of Sami getting inside Kevin Owens' head, or if he just doesn't know how to be a heel, because he's, as long as he's been in WWE, back in NXT and now, up to now, he's always been a face. I don't know what his stature was like in the independents, but I've always just known him as a face, and so I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. It's going to be interesting. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what they do, because I sure as hell don't know what they're going to do. All right, you guys, that's it for this week. Next week, we are going over predictions for TLC that is going to be happening next Sunday. It's Raw's next pay-per-view. A couple of things that have happened on Raw are fairly interesting. I'll go into bigger detail about it because I've taken enough time on this vlog talking about the results. I know I really haven't talked about what's happened on Raw or SmackDown lately. I try to sneak it in on my predictions and my results episodes. That way, you're kind of up to speed on what's going on with the show, and so, things that happened in the pay-per-views might make a little bit of sense. Anyway, we'll go more in depth about it next week. But until then, thank you guys very much for watching this episode. I'll be back later with another video. I hope to see you there. My name is Dave, and I am the One Man Rave. See ya!